call to order the Stow City Council Planning Committee meeting for April 24th, 2025. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Here.
Dioka,
Here.
Feldman,
Here.
Baranek.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our April 10th meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. The minutes are approved. Planning Director's report.
Thank you. A few updates. On Tuesday, April 29th, we'll be holding an open house for the public just to learn about planning and zoning and what we do, learn about permitting procedures and what needs a permit now that we have spring coming up. We'll also be talking about the code update and the safe routes to school plan update that we're doing. So that's on the 29th at the library from 5:30 to 7 p.m. As far as development updates, I'll just go through a short list. L Camp, no updates. Still waiting. They have their building permit. They're just waiting on inspections at this point. I couldn't get a hold of the owner. Stow Kent Entertainment. I was informed today that they have as-built drawings completed, and they are working on the preliminary drawings, hoping to submit those within 3 to 4 weeks. Suncrest Gardens, they are currently working on their building plans, and they hope to start moving dirt by late spring. And then AMF Bruins, there's a groundbreaking ceremony on May 6th. That is by invitation. We provided council's contact information, so you should have received an invitation for that. Again, that's on May 6th. And Sunbelt Rentals, they are currently grading the property, and they said they hope to have that completed by the end of the year. And then on Tuesday night this week, Planning Commission 7 Brew was recommended approval, so you guys will see that on May 8th. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Any questions for our Planning Director? Not at the moment, so we'll jump straight into business with 2025-111.
Thank you. All right, so this application is at 4185 Kent Road. This property is right next to Meyer Gas Station on the west side. On the west side of that property is Mission Baptist. Property is 4.5 acres in area, zone C4. We're here for a site plan for Panda Express with conditional uses and variances. So existing conditions, there is a single family home with some accessory buildings. This would be removed as part of this project. So the site plan, this will be a 2,700 square foot building with 36 parking spaces on the property, 2 access drives. One would be an ingress and egress from the back of the Meyer gas station access drive. And then there would be an egress for the exit back on that same access drive out onto Kent Road. They do show a potential future drive in the back here that could connect to the church property to the west. And just to get a better idea of the layout, this is the plan overlaid on aerial image, just showing those access drives and how they line up. I can come back to this if you need. So with this are a few variances. Starting with building setbacks, they require a variance from the front building setback. We require 80 feet. This building is proposed at 59 feet. And on the west side, since it's abutting residential district, we require 40 feet. The building will be at 34 feet from the west property line. And then parking setbacks, 3 variances for this one. We require 20 feet in the front, and parking setback is for any circulation area as well. So that front circulation area will be about 18 feet from the right of way. On the west side, we require 25 feet since it's abutting residential. That will be at 9 feet to the closest. And then on the east side, it'll be about 6.5 feet where we require 10 feet. Conditional uses are for drive-through facilities and counter service restaurant. These are the supplemental regulations they have shown to be in compliance with. Landscaping, as part of this, they will be removing 58 trees from the property, preserving 11. But they will be installing 98 new trees, including 120 shrubs around the property. 10% of the interior parking lot will be landscaped, which meets our 5% minimum. And then they will provide 3.5-foot of screening between the parking area and the right-of-way, and then an additional 6 feet of screening along the west property line, which is required, again, since it's abutting that residential property. And this has been approved by the city arborist. And then building elevations, which comply with the standards. And that's all I have for this. I'll leave this up for review, again, for site plan, conditional use, and variances from building and parking setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Any questions from council? Mr. Feldman.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Is there sidewalks anywhere?
Along Kent Road, yes, there's a existing sidewalk. There is a pedestrian walkway that will be provided from that sidewalk to the building.
Right, but nothing in front, or is there anything in front of Meyer even, or any of that over there? I mean,
There are sidewalks, yes.
there are?
Yes. Get back to the aerial. Yep.
Where?
In front of Meyer.
Oh, right there.
Yeah,
Okay. How far down does that go? To past the church? Does it keep going?
I'm not sure.
Does it go all the way?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Herman.
Other questions? Or if the applicant is here, they're also welcome to speak. Mr. Fioka?
Any concerns voiced by the church nearby?
No, we never heard anything from them.
Okay. Any further discussion, or would we like to make a motion to move this on to the council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
This will go on tonight's council agenda. We are now in our public comment period. Anyone who wishes to speak on issues related to planning, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Yes.
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 We are adjourned. Thanks.
I would like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting of April 24th, 2025 at 5:39 p.m. I am the Vice Chair, Kyle Feldman, of this committee. Also present, we have member Kyle Herman and Finance Committee member Jeremy McIntyre. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee from April 10th?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Mr. Toppin.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. I do not have anything to report this evening, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Just one question from me, Mr. Toppin. I really have appreciated, I don't know if it's Jamie or you, whoever, or Sammy, but the city income tax by month, that's been very helpful. We will be getting one for April. I would assume you're going to do that monthly?
Yeah, so you'll get that usually the first meeting. So you'll get April's numbers the first meeting in May.
Yeah, that's great. And I want you to know that we have, speaking for myself, I appreciate those because, you know, everybody predicts during budget time, but it's nice to follow as we go.
They will also be providing, Ms. Twig provided the first quarter but capital budget numbers. She'll be presenting those on a quarterly basis as well, so you have those to look at ahead of time too.
Great. I'm sure the rest of the council appreciates that also. All right, committee members, any questions for the finance director? Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. Mr. Toppin, I'm just trying to bring it up here real quick. There was an expenditure I noticed on the revenue or the bill listing from the golf course fund, and there might even be a question. It was in the amount of like $800,000. Just trying to, I couldn't understand. I'm looking for it here real quick. Bear with me, I'll let you know. There's so many funds. What fund number is the golf course again?
218.
Here it is. Yeah, so it's the last two expenditures on there. Both of them combined are $837, almost $838,000. It says like Stow Band Series 2024 for Huntington National Bank. Is that the bond?
Yeah.
That's the refinancing
Yeah.
of it? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood it. That's for the golf course and then, or both the driving range and
That's for the driving range.
that's for the driving
Yes.
range.
So yeah, we just paid down 400. So there's only, we combined them with the debt issuance that we just took out. So there's only 400 left on the driving range that's in there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Toppin. We'll move on to the consideration of business items. Mr. Cowan.
Thank you. This resolution is to enter into a CRA agreement with 600 Seasons Business Center. This is for the new 250,000 square foot building that FOG will be constructing. This was approved back in January. It's at the corner of Seasons and Allen Road. So they are committed to creating a total of a minimum of 60 new jobs and $2 million in payroll by the end of the third year, which would generate an estimated $40,000 annually in income tax. Real property investment is approximately $16.5 million for this project, and they are requesting a 100% exemption for 15 years. With that exemption, that would generate an estimated $420,000 in real property taxes. Out of that, the school would still receive 50% of their payment, which would be about $140,000 per year. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. I see Mr. Merle here. Any other comments, Mr. Merle, from you? State your name and address real quick.
Mike Merle, 2288 Cross Creek Trail, Cogga Falls, Ohio. Just quickly, this is the 8th building that we've constructed. It is very much similar to the Hayden building and to the Veritiv building. Those are both 250,000 square feet. We're looking at despite some of the current economic turmoil that we're seeing, Northeast Ohio remains a very scarce industrial market. Vacancies for the kinds of buildings that we're building across Northeast Ohio are in the 3 and 4% range, which means they're virtually full. So we're very optimistic going forward. And I would just make one comment in regard to payments in lieu of taxes to the schools. In January of this year, we made payments in the amount of $430,000 for buildings 1 through 6. So even though we're getting the tax abatement we badly need to remain competitive in this environment, we're still, we think, providing significant financial benefit to the school system. So I thank you very much for your support, and I hope that you'll continue this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merle. I want to thank you for pointing that out. Obviously, sometimes these are criticized, right? But you are making those, and we wouldn't have those dollars if you guys weren't present in that area. So, and thank you also for investing in Stow and continuing to invest in Stow. We know you're a great partner, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. We very much appreciate the city's support.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Morrow while he's still here? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from council on resolution 25-108?
Looks like they've already broke ground over there. Mr. Town, they're doing site work over there now.
Yeah, I believe they're clearing trees at least.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to move resolution 25-108 onto tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Next item is public comment. We ask for comments from the audience pertaining to the Finance Committee agenda. Please raise your hand. Does anybody have any public comments pertaining to the Finance Committee agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed? We are adjourned. I would like to call to order the committee of the whole meeting of April 24th, 2025 at 5:48 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Here.
Coffee,
Here.
Baranek, McIntyre,
Here.
Reel,
Present.
Bioka,
Here.
Feldman.
Here. Next, we have before us the minutes from the April 10th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve a circulator. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Law Director's report. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple quick items. First being that the next Charter Review Commission meeting is April 29th at 6:30 in the Boards and Commissions room. Following that, on May 15th at 1:30 p.m., I will be giving my second quarterly scamming presentation. There are still spots open for that, so if there are any people in the audience that are listening, I recommend signing up for that program to learn about scamming and preventing scams yourself from becoming a victim of scams. And then finally, at the last council meeting, Councilman McIntyre had asked me about to provide a quick update on the state changes to the marijuana law. I had sent an email out to council earlier with a big analysis, because the short answer is that there are currently 3 pieces of legislation, 2 main ones that impact marijuana legislation and regulation. So the first being the governor's biannual budget that was originally proposed had a provision that would change the excise tax from 10% to 20%, and then also reallocate the funding. So previously, host communities would get 35% of that 10% allocated to the host community cannabis fund that would then be distributed to the communities that have adult use cannabis facilities based on the proportion of their usage of that. That provision has been struck from the budget as it's passed from the House. So the budget is before the Senate. That provision is no longer in the budget, but I still wanted to bring it up there that that's a possibility that the Senate could bring it back, and then it has to be reconciled with the state, with the state House. But there are currently 2 bills outstanding. One is SB 56, that's the Senate regulation that is a complete overhaul of the state's marijuana regulation. I don't want to go through each and every piece of that because, as you can see from the comparison I sent out, it's a pretty big change. But the big things that it changes home grow from 12 a potential 12 potted plants down to 6, regardless of the number of individuals in the household. It keeps the revenue funds the same for our purposes. So it's still 36% of the 10%. Now the other allocations are switched as well, but that doesn't really impact the local community as much as HB 160 does. HB 160 changes the excise tax that we will still continue in the tax years of 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 to receive those percentages, but after that, we lose the allocation and it goes to the state house. So I can go through any number of these regulations, but the big things that impact us here at the state level, or the local level from the state, those are the big changes I see, but I'm happy to answer any further questions on it. But that, if you're also interested, I also sent out the link to the Moritz School of Law at the Ohio State University. They have a drug enforcement and reform policy sector of their law school that they keep tracking this. They track state law throughout the country, not just here in Ohio, to also see the impact of what type of tax revenues other communities are seeing, other states, and then also comparing and contrasting the different types of regulation at the state level. So other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rowley. Questions for Mr. Rowley? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Rowley, for your report. Let's move on to consideration of business items. I put 5A on. You'll see it on your agenda. It's discussion deer. I threw that on when I got a couple of comments from residents. One was, I see a herd all the time in this area. And another one was a little more active. What are you going to do, right? Obviously, you all elected officials get those messages from residents, but I wanted to at least throw this on and at least start some ideas. What are you hearing from your constituents? And I don't want to spend too much time on this. We've got a long committee of the whole agenda, but I do want to kind of start the discussion too. And I appreciate you being here tonight. Lieutenant Prusha, thank you. Maybe I was coming up with another item. Do we have any recent data or expert data or input on deer in our community, accidents? So maybe you can take that up and get us some information. And I think that will help us. And 3, if we come up with some ideas, what do we want to prioritize and move forward? A lot of cities have this issue. I don't know if it is, but I wanted to hear from elected officials to answer at least the first questions. Are you hearing concerns from residents? What are they in your ward at large? I see Mr. Riley, you wanted to comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to step in front of Lieutenant Prusha if she had this to talk about. I know I had a conversation with Chief Film a couple weeks ago. We have entered into a contract with ODNR to study the population of deer in the city to help us get that data. So we're already working on that right now with ODNR. We don't have any information at this point. I just know that Chief Film has talked to me about that and had me look at the contract. So don't want to jump ahead of you if you had any other information, but okay.
No, I think we would like to know that. I'd appreciate some communication because if I'm getting comments from residents, I can at least answer that way. You know what I mean? That hey, you know, the administration's looking into it. We've got this and that. ODNR. At least I have an answer. So, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Wren. Maybe you can answer this question. My question would be: so, I mean, we get deer on our personal property and everything else. You know, it's just the nature of living where we live. I guess the only concern I would have is what kind of impacts is the deer population in the city having to public grounds, public parks, damages? Is there a cost associated with the amount of deer that we have on our public lands?
No.
Are you seeing it from the golf course? Nowhere?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No, they'll come out at dusk at the golf course, but I mean, really, anything that are eating, we probably don't want out there anyway. So, every once in a while, maybe some hoof marks on the greens, but they're, I mean, maybe once a year, if that.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a good question, Mr. McIntyre. I wasn't thinking about our 10 parks. So. Other questions or concerns where any other elected officials are hearing from residents?
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
Mr. Reel.
So it was my understanding that Kent State authorized sharpshooters out at the Kent State Airport. Yeah, I mean, my concern with that is, what's the law with just residents discharging firearms within the city limit?
We would defer to state law on this, so there is a state law provision, and we periodically get calls to the police department about this. Discharging firearms near or onto residential property is illegal, so you cannot do that. I don't have the exact number. I could send you the memo that I gave to the police department about this. I don't have the exact acreage, but there's some acreage requirements. What I will say is the city explicitly prohibits bow hunting and crossbow hunting in the city as well. So practically, there's no hunting allowed.
Yeah, and I guess that was my concern with the Kent, with the operation that occurred over at Kent State, because anytime anybody who's trained in firearms, it's not just the target. You have to aim.
Absolutely.
And you have Canby Farms on the south. You have commercial areas to the east and west. I was very displeased to hear that an operation was taking place, especially not even talking to residents or anything like that, saying, "Hey, you're going to have gunshots going off." In the surrounding residential areas or the commercial areas.
Yeah, and one of the issues, and I think you're probably familiar with this, Mr. Reel, is that FAA guidelines take precedent over local law, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's bow hunting, there's other things that are more localized versus going a mile away, right?
It's a good point, Mr. Reel. I didn't. This is the first I'm hearing of it too, and I would have liked to have known that. And so I guess that's good then. I left it on the agenda and we're talking about it. Other questions or comments from elected officials on what you're hearing from residents? Anything? Mr. Herman?
Yes, just talking with neighbors and residents, and from what I've seen myself, there does seem to have been an increase in deer in residential neighborhoods in recent years, but there seems to be sort of mixed feelings about what, if anything, should be done about it. Some people have the perspective of, oh well, some people in the neighborhood are putting out salt licks for them to attract them, which is something like a public education thing that, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing that, because then other neighbors complain about them coming into their gardens and eating their plants, and then some have the attitude of, like, well, Stow has experienced a lot of growth as a city in the past few decades, and we are losing our green spaces and we're losing the natural habitat for those animals, and they're not invading our homes, we're invading theirs. And so I would be interested in hearing what the ODNR reports and options that we may have.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Fiocco.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, I've gotten a couple phone calls just about the deer population and if, any actions the city, might be looking into. So I think it was good to hear about the ODNR and that, process starting. So it's a good step and looking forward to hearing more regarding that.
Thank you, Mr. Fiocco. Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
Mr. Riley, as far as the engaging with ODNR, what's the timeline for that?
I'd have to defer to Chief Film. I just reviewed the contract for terms of of any terms of concern. I don't have the exact details.
Do we have an executed agreement with them?
I believe it's been executed at this point, but
Can you just forward a copy of the executed agreement to each member council so they can have it for their own information?
sure.
Thank you.
Good, Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Coffey.
Question. Do you know, Mr. Riley, if they're looking into, are they studying coyotes as well?
I believe it's just deer.
I've just heard some residents complain of coyotes and just fear with their pets, and especially near Silver Springs and different areas in the city.
Good. So I think it's good we brought it out, just kind of got some more communication going so we can communicate with residents. I think it's very important, Mr. Reel's comment that gunshots going off, right? I think we need to know that. So any information you can get to us, Mr. Riley, we would appreciate it. I know Mr. McIntyre requested the agreement. That will help us. And if there's anything else that comes up, I know I printed off a deer management plan, City of Solon, comprehensive plan addressing resident and ecological concerns while necessitating efficient and effective herd management. But, you know, I think we need some data first, you know, so anything, and Lieutenant Prusha, you can maybe convey that on the chief film. If there's anything we need to know, I'd like to see some data. I know you guys do a great job with the annual report, and I love it, and it kind of breaks everything down, but if you can get us some of that, it gives us a little more information that we can share with residents. So, all right, moving along. Item B. This is how I want this to go with item B, C, D, and E, and F. There's quite a few of them. I'm going to allow Mr. Riley to give us a brief summary because these don't look real complicated to me. And then I'd like council to consider two options. I think it was important that we heard from Charter Review at the last council meeting, and I certainly appreciated their engagement and comments. So option one, we would move it onto tonight's council agenda for a first reading. I think the charter is an important document. We're not just going to pass. So we can move that item on, which will then take a vote later. We can take that up as we go, second, third reading. Or option two, we make a motion to refer the item back to Charter Review Commission for further deliberation based on council's comments. So I'm looking to try to facilitate the exchange here, and I'm looking at those two options. I don't want to spend too much time on these. I think there'll be some debate more as we continue to move, but I think it's good that we got these out front so we at least can kind of look at this procedure. So we're this process. So we have an engaging commission and a back and forth with council and having them take it back. And maybe if we have some issues, they can deliberate those further as a commission. So item 25-104, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting with the first charter amendment, first I'd like to thank Mr. Charles from the Charter Review Commission, who's here representing the Charter Review Commission tonight, that will be able to, in addition to myself, bring back any comments that council has back to the Charter Review Commission at the next meeting, which I've already plugged, but I'm going to plug it again, April 29th at 6:30 in the Boards and Commissions room. So first Charter Review Commission is an amendment to section 3.06, which is the section on acting mayor. This is one that it clarifies language as opposed to changing anything. If you read the original language where it says president of council or any other member of council designated by majority vote of council in that order shall become acting mayor. Both Deputy Law Director Hooten, myself, and members of the Charter Review Commission were confused of a situation that might arise if council decided to vote someone differently than the president of council to be acting mayor in the event of these four situations: the absence from the municipality, inaccessibility, unable to for any cause or reason, that sort of thing. So this is a clarification of it, that it's the president of council serves as acting mayor in those instances, and in the event the president of council has any of those instances of inaccessibility or absence from the municipality, then council would elect someone from their membership to serve as acting mayor. So it's a clarification of language, not a change of any process. happy to answer any questions.
Thank you,
on that.
Mr. Riley. We'll go around, questions or comments. Try not to take too long, each member, because we can move it on to tonight's council agenda for a first reading, or we can make a motion referred back to charter review. Comment, Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah, I mean, for me, looking at this, I understand what they're trying to accomplish. But just for example, absent from the municipality, one, that would take the mayor's office to actually, anytime the mayor leaves the city, council president, in theory, is the acting mayor as long as they're within the jurisdictional boundaries of the city. That is never communicated, okay? Council never knows when the mayor is without the city, right? Because for whatever reason, they don't want to share it with council or anything else. I mean, unable for any cause or reason to perform the duties of the mayor, for me, that encompasses everything. Absent from the municipality, inaccessible. For me, I just think I don't think it's necessary, because it would actually take the office of the mayor to communicate to council when they're actually out of the city, right? There are times where the mayor's out of the city. That's a given, but that's never communicated. So I don't see the need for this change. We can have a debate on it or whatever. That's just that I've noticed in almost 6 years that I've been here, that once the mayor leaves the city, council president or whoever is the acting mayor, but we don't know when that takes place.
Okay, other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Scott.
I just looking into other cities, I saw other cities had similar versions of ours where they had like council elects one of its members. I'm just going to be slow for any charter changes. Like, it's our charter, obviously. And so I just am going to be slow with any changes. If they're absolutely necessary or I see a reason, but if I feel like it's working the way it is, then I personally am going to be slow to change it.
Thank you, Ms. Coffey. Other comments? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to move this onto tonight's council agenda for a first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed?
No.
I still got enough, right? 5, that will appear on tonight's council agenda.
We only need 4 to move it on.
Thank you. Next item, ordinance 2025-105. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This one is a change to section 412, the public notice provision under council. This was brought forth actually by Clerk of Council Sonia Mottram about how the fact that currently we have to post all the ordinances, all the notices at 6 public places, 3, and that's set forth in a separate ordinance that even if this charter change happens, council would need to then change the codifieds as well to take down those locations. But looking at the utilization of the 2 fire stations and the safety center as public posting locations, they're not very well attended for it. So Charter Review Commission suggested we take those down to 3 public places, but also add in the provision where if the city utilizes social media platforms, that they also need to utilize it to get it out there in an effort to stay on top of technology as well and keep notices being sent out to the public how they receive their information. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I appreciate Mrs. Mottram. I think I agree with her. Not I think, I agree with her. So questions or comments about this charter review recommendations, council members? Yes, Scott.
I think this makes sense with the way our current situation is. I think this is a change that's needed.
Other comments? Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
I would agree. As past council president, I know working with Ms. Mottram, it's one of those things. At one point, there were public places that we had to post, and it looked and says, how do we have the right to just say we can post this on Giant Eagle's property, right? So we made changes to there. I think it is hard, and the safety building is, you can only get inside and have to be buzzed in from there. And fire departments, they just don't make logical places to post these things. Maybe at some point in our time, but now with technology, I think, I fully intend on moving this out onto the council board.
Other comments? Mr. Herman.
I would agree. I think this is a very common sense, good governance reform to keep up with technology. And so sort of like comparing this to the previous amendment, my preference would have been to have sent that one back to the commission for further review, since there was some discussion on it, instead of moving it onto the council agenda. But this one is one that I would be, it feels like a no-brainer to me, and I think others we may want to consider how the commission prioritizes them relative to each other before we make a final decision about putting them on the ballot.
Yeah, I think, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Herman, but I think if we get it onto council agenda and I believe we're gonna make it a first reading, I think there will be some time to amend, change, or even refer back. So I just think, but I agree. I don't wanna go backwards. I agree. So any other discussion on 2025-105? Yes, Mr. Reel.
So yeah, I just piggyback off that. I do think it's important to understand the priority. So like, what does charter review think are their number 1 through 5 priorities? For a couple of reasons. One, it's good for us to know. Two, there's something called ballot fatigue, right? So, and the Board of Elections places these on the ballot in the order in which they receive them, right? So if something's a high priority, and look, let's face it, ballot fatigue is, the voters tend to drop off the further they go on down the ballot. So if something that's a high priority comes to us in July, that's going to be number 10, number 5, number 15. So I guess it's a good idea to know priority, as well as, I guess, how many roundabout amendments do you think that we're going to receive?
Yeah, and to comment on that real quick, I know that the Charter Review Commission at our next meeting, they will be looking at prioritizing these 5 and then potentially having other ones. So I can definitely take those comments back, and it's something that I'll let Mr. Charles speak to it if he wants to, but it's something they've thought about too, not clogging flooding the zone with a bunch of different charter review
and I guess maybe we should hold off actually giving them numbers, right? Because it is whenever city council has submitted amendments to the Board of Elections, they've taken it in order in which we've submitted.
Correct.
So I mean, I'm not into delaying anything, but that's just something to have in mind. Because we've had issues where we had term limits on some offices, no term limits on other offices, and we actually structured it so the ones to remove term limits came first, and the ones to put them on came at the end, something like that, and therefore people knew in order what they were voting on.
Yeah.
But again, it's just discussion.
No, I think those are valid. I think ballot fatigue is a real thing too. I mean, I know I've been in there reading and going, you know what I mean? You get, I think those are great points, and that's why these are on here. I think it's good to have this discussion now. I'm just trying to think if we can get it on for all these on for a first reading, how we'd have to prioritize them. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. Yes, Mr. McIntyre, go ahead.
We've given things 3 readings before, 2 readings, and then tabled it until that's a process. To get on the readings, there's times where councils have held special meetings to get readings and things of that nature. I don't see there's a need. Not to mention, the charter says on or before August 1st or whatever it is that the charter review provides their recommendations. Right? I understand we want to have this open line of communication. I know it's been conveyed that members of the charter review could reach out to members of council or anybody to get their input and feedback. But to my knowledge, in at least the 6 years, this is my second go with charter review. But looking in the past history of charter review, I have never seen, maybe 1 or 2 times, where things were referred back. I don't think the process is meant to just take our input and go. If they want to hear our input, then they should attend these meetings, or they can watch these meetings and hear the input and take that back to the charter review. But as far as recommending, they provided a recommendation, and now we're going to debate that recommendation. And 4 or 5 years ago, the age-old question was put to rest by the Supreme Court on whether or not this body has the right to amend anything that's recommended by charter review. So we can make those recommendations ourselves and put those on.
Yeah, so in 2009, there was discussion between the charter review, and I do believe some things went back and forth.
But it wasn't a common when I look back in the history of charter review. But I think, as everyone has stipulated, the priority is really what we need to understand when we take these up and take these in the orders and move them on. because the order that we vote on them are based off of the numbers that they have, right? 105, 104, that's how they're gonna, if we pass 104, but 105 is more of a priority than 104, it doesn't matter. It's gonna take DOE is gonna take that one first, because that's the one that was adopted and moved down there first.
Yeah, those are good points. Let's continue to put these on for a first reading, and then we've got some stuff that we can do. I don't want to delay the process. I think making a few comments, getting it on first reading, I think is good. And then somehow I'm hearing council talking about. I'm also the one that said it last week, prioritizing, get them in some sort of order. But at least let's get through this. We've got them on there. We'll get them on for first reading, and then we'll go from there. Council good with that? All right, so I make a motion to move ordinance 2025-105 onto tonight's council agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 That will appear on tonight's agenda for a first reading. Next item, 2025-106.
Thank you, Mr. President. This one is a change to section 20 of the charter, which applies to Charter Review Commission. This was actually the first one that they discussed because there was a discussion. I think part of it was also, you have to keep in mind that they were originally looking at things that happened in 2020 and that condensed timeline that COVID brought about. And in an effort to avoid that, they have recommended that the Charter Review Commission be impaneled and confirmed by council by the last meeting in January, and then submit their recommendations to council on July 1. That way, there is less time, or there's more time in between it being submitted to council and it having to go to the Board of Elections. So there's less of a rush, especially when you look at some of the meeting minutes from historically. There has been discussion of, hey, we're out of time, or this was past the deadline, or we have to vote on it tonight. We don't have time to schedule another meeting, that sort of thing. So that's the rationale behind changing this article.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Comments or questions or for Mr. Riley? Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. The only one I mean, obviously the last city council meeting, I remember being in 2020. You know, they didn't get sworn in, and then I know it came back, and you know, trying to make it was council's fault. But again, council has nothing that we confirmed, and after that, we have nothing to do with the process. The one thing I guess I don't like about this is it says no later than July 1st. No later than August 1st, the way it's written, already takes into account no later than July 1st. Me personally, I don't want to take away more time for a future charter review to have time to deliberate, right? There's been times in the past. What if something has to be referred back and you just took away 30 days of their ability to look at the charter, or this, you know, want to have this back and forth dialogue? I mean, the convening meeting, the last meeting in January of which the charter review, I mean, I'm fine with that. Why not the end of December with them being able to start talking and discussing it, the first meeting in January? But that's neither here nor there. For me, I don't like the July 1st. I don't think you're taking away time for them to have to deliberate in the process. And I think no later than August 1st already takes into account July 1st. If the charter review at that point in time wants to submit them earlier, they have that right. But taking away at least 30 days, a month from them, I think doesn't help the situation. That's just me.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Other questions? Mrs. Coffey.
Just looking into other cities, like I always do. I did see other cities had no later than January. Hudson had no later than January, and they had 120 days prior to the election, which would be similar to the July 1st, because you know about right now we only have about 90 days with our August 1st. So just seeing what other cities did. I think the July 1st, if the Charter Review Commission is saying that they can do it in that amount of time, starting in January, and then they're giving that deadline. From their experience working with it, and I know this is a group that's working hard, but I think that does make sense to make sure that there's adequate time getting everything to the Board of Elections, just from looking at other cities.
Thank you, Mrs. Coffey. Mr. Herman.
Thanks. Yes, I agree with Mrs. Coffey that this helps to solve the problem of that August 1st deadline being uncomfortably close to the deadline to get it on the ballot, and with our council usually only meeting once in July and once in August, this would create allow the I think it would help standardize the timeline for the process, especially when combined with the next amendment that we're going to look at, which the Charter Review Commission discussed, would actually help make sure that they're appointed earlier so that they will have more time overall between the time that they are appointed and the time that they would complete their recommendations by July 1st, and then would also give time for any back and forth that may need to occur between the council and the Charter Review Commission as a sort of best practice of this is as something that the council and the Charter Review Commission are working on collaboratively together before putting on the ballot for voters.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Yes, Mr. Fiocchi.
Mr. Riley, listening to some of the meetings, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when it was discussed in January versus an earlier timeline, was that to account for the possibility of the new mayor coming in, or?
They discussed that. They also
Yeah.
discussed that Charter Review talks about being impaneled every 5 years. And if you're doing it earlier than January, you're not impaneling them every within the year that you're voting on the Charter Review Commission. But yes, that was a concern as well, is that there would be a new council and a new mayor, depending on how timelines work out. But that is something that they talked about and discussed.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion on this item? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Just
Mr.
correct me if I'm wrong. Like, these are due to the board in September, right? It's 60 days. It's not like, hey, August 1st, like, you gotta have,
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think this year it's September 12th. I could be. Don't quote me on that. But I think that's the date that I looked at.
Okay, do I have a motion to move ordinance 2025-106 onto tonight's council agenda for a first reading? Yes.
I'm looking at this and line 35, it says charter issue shall Article 6, Charter Review Commission of the Charter, but Article 6 has nothing to do with Charter Review Commission. Just want to point that out. Shouldn't that be Finance Director? I don't know what Article 6 of the Charter says, but it ain't Charter Review Commission, is it? Line 35. Am I on the right one? Which one are we on right now? 108?
106.
106.
I opened the wrong one. Well, we'll get to that section.
I was gonna say.
No problem.
108 is Article 6, or 109 is Article 6. So.
Okay. Well,
All right, did I?
That's
did
a
I make
question I'll
motion?
reserve when we get to that.
Okay. So, do we have a motion to move 25-106 onto tonight's council agenda for a first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Ordinance 2025-109. Mr. Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. President. 109 changes it to add section 6.08, a section for acting finance director. This language mirrors very similarly the acting mayor section, but what it does is says in the event of that inaccessibility or temporary inaccessibility of the finance director, the assistant director of the general division becomes acting finance until the finance director either resumes the role or the position becomes vacant, and then through other provisions of the charter about appointing a new finance director. So this is in the event of like a health issue, their continuity of government. So,
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Questions or comments on 109? Mrs. Scott.
Again, just looking at other cities, I just saw similar verbiage to what we had, what our current verbiage is. So I don't see the need for this.
Any other comments?
It's my comment that,
Yes.
I stated earlier. And
You
just
wanna
so we're
repeat
clear,
it?
110 says the same thing when it comes to talking about the acting lawmaker. So those just need to be updated to reflect their actual section of the charter. Line 35, charter issue shall Article 9 Charter Review Commission. Article 9 is not Charter Review Commission.
Oh, that should say acting law director.
Correct, and it
Yeah.
should say that under, and it should say Finance Director for the other one, just that.
Yep.
just something else.
So I guess I'm hearing you say we can always make those amendments, Mr. Riley, if this.
I think it's
Yeah.
more of a.
It's a typo. I'll correct it for the next meeting.
I don't think it really
It really
an
matters. I
amendment
don't
that we're
think-
making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a typo.
Okay, we have a motion to move ordinance 2025-109 onto tonight's council agenda for a first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda for a first reading. Next item, 2025-110. Mr. Riley?
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is the last one. It's very similar language to 109, but it applies to the law director, and it makes the deputy law director become acting law director in the event of the law director's temporary absence. Again, if the position becomes vacant, it still follows the provisions under the charter of vacancy. This is just temporary inaccessibility or inavailability.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
I guess, historically speaking, or even now, Mr. Riley, Mr. Toppin, both of you who are currently sitting in those positions, if you were to take a week's vacation, who is filling in for you during that time?
Yeah, and this is actually something we talked about at the Charter Review Commission. I have put a memo out there that allows my deputy to sign in certain instances in my absence. However, there are certain things that only a law director has the authority or power to do, and I don't want to go into any specific examples, but in the event of a health emergency in which someone is inaccessible, there are certain things that only a law director or finance director can sign off on or do, and because of that continuity of operations and continuity of government, you don't want to delay certain things if you can't reach somebody or if they're inaccessible. So that's the reason for, like, currently, yes, we do have a procedure and process if I'm on vacation for a week that Steve's able to sign or do things in my behalf. But that is under the framework of, because I have a signature memo, basically, but it doesn't give him full authority to act as law director, whereas this would allow, in the event of an emergency filing or something like that, that you would need a law director to sign off on. That would give the authority to the deputy law director.
Okay, and you're saying, what are these, I mean, I guess, what are these things that only a law director can do? Because in order to only be a law director, you have to hold and be a practicing attorney, correct?
Correct.
And a practicing attorney can go file a motion or do whatever in a court of law, correct? So how is it that it has to be only a law director and not deputy law director or somebody under the direction of a law director to make those decisions?
Well, certain financial documents have to be signed by the specific office holder and not designees. So that's where I'm thinking of instances of, like, explicit financial documents or things that if we were closing on a bond and the bank said you can't just have your deputy sign off on it. Well, our law director is in the middle of a surgery or was just in a car accident yesterday. You don't want to hold up the closing of the bond document because you don't have valid signatory authority to have someone else sign on their behalf.
Okay. I guess I would like to know what those things are from the finance department side of things and the law director side of things, that only a finance, because the council president can sign for the bill listing, right? I mean, I just want to, and what are we using to say that where in our charter says only a law director can do this and only a finance director can do this? Because if you look at the section for the duties and responsibilities of the law director in our charter, it's not very lengthy, right? It says whatever plus subject to whatever council wants it to do. So if you can provide that for me, I'm just kind of curious what you're saying, because the list of things the law director can do in our charter is, I think, 2 sentences long.
And it wouldn't necessarily be a list that I'd be able to provide you, because sometimes it is outside entities that we are contracting with. Sorry. An outside entity that we are contracting with, or a specific document that we provide, then they say this is not a valid person to sign on behalf of the law director because they are not the law director. So I'm thinking specifically bond documents, financial documents with financial institutions, potentially other governmental agencies if we submit something for an audit, things of that nature. And it would be other entities telling us that they don't have the authority to sign off unless you can point to something that shows they have the authority in this instance. And it's a clarification of the charter for that.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Mr. Riley. Other questions or comments? We're on 25-110. Seeing none, do I have a motion to move ordinance 2025-110 onto tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Now, just to summarize before we move on to 2025-103, the resolution, I'm just speaking with Vice President Real, so we'll get these onto tonight's council agenda, and then Mr. Charles will probably table them and maybe get the rest of the group. I think you've heard some discussion tonight, and then I think Mr. Real's comments were good, that I also want a prioritization, so maybe we'll wait, keep them tabled, and then, because I don't want to mess them up by how we approve them, right? I want to make sure we get them approved and down to the Board of Elections in the correct order that we want to see them on. Mr. Real, just so I'm aware, however we send them, do we have any impetus on how they show up, or are they random?
Typically, it's been the order that we've submitted them is the order that they go on the ballot. Now, if they have issues with how there have been times that they have been rejected because of language, they just go directly to the law director. They don't involve us in that. But
Mr. Rowley, you want to kind of comment on that?
Yeah, and one
question?
thing I was thinking about once Mr. Real mentioned that, depending on how council wants to do things, there's nothing to stop council from approving certain of them on one meeting and then approving some of them at a later meeting, as long as they've had their 3 readings and things have been voted on that way. So you could do it that way so that you're still sending them in the order you want to send them in, even if they're not numbered in the same way that they ultimately. But yeah, that's my experience has been Mr. Real's experience as well. It's the order in which we send them to them.
Yeah, well, I just know that I'd like to send them in the prioritized order. I think that's important. So we'll have to, I'm just letting council know, we'll have to look at, we're tabling, we're moving. I just want to make sure, I appreciate those comments that we get them, whether they get amended, rejected, approved, we'll send them down in the order we want to send them down at. And I appreciate everybody's discussion on this item. I know it took a little longer than I wanted to, but I think I'm always for engagement, Mr. Charles, so you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. We always can learn something listening to each other, and I think we did tonight on some of these, so it was good. So, all right, appreciate the discussion. Thank you. On to Resolution 2025. I believe this was left in committee. Mr. Herm?
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. Brought back and corrected a typo that Mr. McIntyre identified in the last version of it, although I did just notice there's a double period at the end of it now. But I did also send an open letter to the Charter Review Commission and to each member of council individually in response to some questions that were raised during our last discussion of the resolution. I appreciated the opportunity to talk with those of you who responded, and I still think that this resolution is important, and I do appreciate the ask for clarity about the intent. And to me, when I think of the history of our charter and our city, I look at the preamble of our charter, which is our city's constitution, and it says, "We, the people of Stow, in the county of Summit, in the state of Ohio, in order to secure for ourselves the benefits of municipal home rule, and to exercise all the powers of local self-government under the Constitution and the laws of Ohio, do hereby adopt this charter for our municipality. And as we talked about last time, Mr. Baranek talked about how we've seen over the years the state chipping away at home rule. And this is a nonpartisan issue. It's not a left or right issue. It's a top-down issue. And I don't think most people nowadays appreciate the importance of home rule and democracy, and how in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt came to Ohio for a statewide constitutional convention in which he spoke about the importance of home rule and these other core tenets of democracy, because power should be is most effectively used at the local level. And so when we have legislation various types that have been infringing upon home rule and subverting home rule by taking away local government funds, I do think that cities like ours should not just let that happen. And I understand concerns about the efficacy of a resolution, this resignation that the state is going to take away home rule no matter what. And that sort of complacency unnerves me, because I've seen this happen in other countries that I've lived and worked in, where they have an even more overt culture of corruption, where the state gets away with suppressing citizens and branches and levels of government. And if we are willing to sacrifice some of our powers of local self-government, we are at risk of losing all of our powers of local self-government. And I also understand the sentiment that, well, maybe we each individually, if we want to be champions for democracy, should reach out to our legislators. But I think that the city of Stow has an opportunity to be a leader. I would like to see a united front among us, because I do think we care about the importance of history and of democracy. Would like to give all of us the opportunity for this body to be a champion for democracy in the state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Riley, so just so I'm clear before I open up for discussion of others, so this is Senate Bill 63, which is on the Senate floor, and it didn't come from the House, or it did come from the House?
It didn't. It originated in the Senate.
Oh, it originated in the Senate. So it hasn't been passed yet.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And how is the connection to ranked choice voting? Just so I understand that too.
Yeah, I defer to Mr. Herman on this language here of the reason for passing this, but the way Senate Bill 63 is written is that if a community enacts ranked choice voting, they would then not receive their funding from the local government funding. So that's how normally when you discuss home rule and say this is an attack on home rule, is you're being told by the state you can't do something. This is saying you can do something, but we're going to take away your funding if you do it.
And that endangers the municipality for dollars. Is that
what
I'm hearing you say?
It absolutely could, yeah.
Okay. All right, other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. McIntyre.
I'm not supporting this legislation. I don't see the need. I guess what is the intent? If this was to be adopted tonight, Mr. Herman, what's the intent for you to mail this to who in Columbus? It's not gonna just pass here. You have an intent for this piece of legislation in your personal capacity as a member or an advocate for ranked choice voting. Is that correct?
I would like our state legislators to be able to say that they represent a city that wants to protect local home rule and defend democracy against corruption.
And how many other cities are you aware of right now that have sent resolutions like this to the State House?
I'm not aware of any, but I think that Stow could be a shining city on the hill for democracy, and that we could encourage other cities to defend home rule as well.
I know you keep saying democracy is threatened, right? But you're accepting of a democracy, correct? So if 4 members of this body vote no, you're accepting of that, right? Because that's democracy in action. And it's not being threatened here today. Nobody's here is threatening home rule Nobody here is threatening our democracy. To my knowledge, Senate Bill 3 has nothing in it related to the charter or the constitutional amendments for Section 3 and Section 7, which give us our authority to home rule. So I just think, again, I said this at the last meeting, part of your day job is ranked choice voting, an advocate, whether you're compensated by an organization or whatever. This is more personal to you than anything, and I think you're possibly abusing your authority and position on city council to try to get this through. I'm not willing to lose local government funds. I'm not willing to go down there and rile feathers because we do apply for other grants and other funding sources other than the local government fund. And I'm not willing to go out there as a body and say, yes, we're going to do this, because as Mr. Baranek pointed out the last time, they're going to take the money whether they want to, right? What was the fund that he recognized last time they took?
It was I remember the inventory or something, right?
Yeah, it had something to do with it. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, nothing stopped it. The State House is going to do what the State House is going to do. That's their legislation. And it's not even on the floor for a vote, but here we are acting as if it actually is. We don't even know if it's going to pass down there. But for me, I'm not supporting it. I don't see this as necessary. I think this has what you do in your day job written all over it. So, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Yep, Mr. Herman, I'm gonna make sure we're respectful, and then we continue to go, but I'm about ready to end the debate. Go ahead, Mr. Herman.
You're right, this is very personal about me. I care very deeply about democracy and upholding my oath of office, and whether or not the rest of the council chooses to join me in that, that's up to you. But I would like to offer the body this opportunity.
All right, any other questions or comments? Mrs. Coffey.
I appreciate Mr. Herman's, I met with him and spoke more about it, and I'm always willing to, when I have a stance on something, I always want to learn more and research more, and after that, I just still feel the same way that I did last week, that of course, I'm a proponent of home rule, but I just don't think this is an efficacious way to do it, to make a change. I don't think a resolution does it justice, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Coffey. Any other questions, comments before we wrap up debate? All right, do we have a motion to move resolution 2025-103 onto tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda.
Mr. President, if I
Yes,
may,
sir.
I'd like to add an item to tonight's agenda. I know I spoke to you earlier about it.
Okay.
We'll get into that portion of the meeting. I'd like to make a motion to add item 6B to the executive session agenda for discussing pending and imminent litigation pursuant to 121.22G3 for the purposes of getting an update on a recently settled lawsuit in the city.
Okay, you made a motion, correct, to add that item to the committee of the whole executive session agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That will also be on tonight's executive session agenda. I'd like to make a motion that we recess to executive session for the appointment, compensation of a public employee, 121.22G1, 2. So we'll be having two items of discussion. And then B, the pending litigation, pending and imminent litigation, 12122G3. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Rio,
Yes.
Fioca,
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes. In executive session. session where we discussed the appointment compensation of a public employee, 121.22G12, and we also discussed pending litigation, 121.22G3. We had one item that came out of executive session, and I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-112 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
Ordinance 2025-112, an ordinance confirming the mayor's appointment of Cynthia Crone as Recreation Assistant of the Parks Department of the City of Stow, establishing compensation for said appointee and declaring emergency.
Do we have a motion to move this onto tonight's council agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That will appear on tonight's council agenda. Now comes the time in the meeting where we ask for comments from the audience. Should you wish to make any comments, please raise your hand and be recognized, and provide your name and address for the benefit of our clerk, because your comments will become part of the permanent record. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. You good? I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting of April 24th, 2025 at 8:23 p.m. Before we call the roll, I want to apologize. We had an extended executive session, so thank you for your patience, everyone. I know we've got some proclamations and different things, so I apologize for getting those started late. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Here.
Coffee,
Here.
Baranek, McIntyre,
Here.
Riel,
Present.
Fioka,
Here.
Feldman.
Here.
Mr. President, I move to excuse the absence of Ward 3 Councilman John Mayer.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor to excuse that absence, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That absence is excused. Next item on our agenda, the prayer and pledge of allegiance. I'd like to recognize Ward 3 Councilman. Of course, he's not here. So I will be handling the prayer. So please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come together tonight with a grateful heart. We are thankful for the city of Stow and thankful for each of us in this room who serve and the opportunity to gather in the spirit of community. Though we may come from different walks of life, hold different views, please help us to remember that we are united in our shared desire to serve the people of Stow with wisdom, compassion, and integrity. May we listen to each other with open minds, speak to each other with respect, and lead with a sense of responsibility and care for our residents. We ask that you guide our decisions tonight and let our work be rooted in purpose, collaboration, and hope. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item, proclamations and commendations. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. This evening, I have a proclamation for National Infertility Awareness Week. And I do have a person to present this to, Miss Lindsay Malin. And thank you for coming, Lindsay, and thank you for coming to our So, whereas the week of April 20th through April 26th, 2025 was National Infertility Awareness Week. According to the CDC, 1 in 7 women have trouble getting pregnant or sustaining a pregnancy. And whereas the World Health Organization and American Medical Association define infertility as a disease. And whereas infertility affects women and men equally and does not discriminate based on race, religion, sexual orientation, marital status, or social economic level. The LGBTQ community also faces challenges when building their families. And whereas some people become infertile due to a medical treatment for another condition, most often chemotherapy or radiation for cancer. And whereas family building options include adoption and medical treatment, such as in vitro fertilization and third-party reproduction. And whereas cost and lack of insurance coverage are barriers for many in our community of Stow and across the whole state of Ohio to access the family building option they need. And whereas raising awareness of infertility and the barriers faced by the family building community is only the first step to removing these barriers. So whereas Stow, Ohio joins Resolve, the National Infertility Association, and dedicated volunteers, healthcare professionals, and members of infertility and family building community by participating in this promotion. So now, therefore, I, John Prabonic, Mayor of the City of Stow, Ohio, do hereby proclaim April 20th through the 26th, 2025, National Infertility Awareness Week. Thank you very much. I appreciate you putting this out. And if you'd like to say a couple words, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. I wrote some words down so that I don't get on a soapbox about this tonight. But first of all, I just want to say thank you to Mayor Prabonic and for the city council members for acknowledging and bringing awareness to infertility this week. Sorry, this is a very emotional topic for me. My name is Lindsay Malin. I just want to briefly share a little bit about our story this evening. 1 in 6 couples struggle with infertility or pregnancy loss, so the likelihood that others in this room have faced challenges just like these. Unfortunately, my husband and I fall into both categories. Over the past 5 years, we've endured 3 rounds of IVF, 8 frozen embryo transfers. Our treatment included hundreds of injections, medication, 5 surgeries, more testing and blood work than I could count. It's taken 4 doctors in Ohio, Illinois, and Florida. We've spent well over $100,000 out of pocket to build our family. I've given birth to 2 sons. Cooper is now 2 years old, and unfortunately, we lost our son Brooks at 13 hours old in February due to pregnancy complications. After all we've been through, I'm still one of the lucky ones. I've had the privilege to be able to seek the treatments that I need from a financial standpoint, and given all the chances, end up with a living son. There are so many people that don't even have the opportunity to seek the medical treatment they need and deserve to be given a chance to overcome their disease and build their family. This has become a huge political topic in our country recently, so it's more important now than ever to have these conversations. Resolve is the National Infertility Association that I do advocacy work with through the state of Ohio, and the city of Stow is being recognized for this proclamation, so I encourage you to take a look at their website for more information. I appreciate you taking the time today, and I'm always available as a resource if there are other families struggling in the city that need someone to help with any resources or guidance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. And Lindsay is also too graduate of Stow Monroe Falls High School, and also does quite a bit of work, even through the work that she does in just her personal life of volunteering to our community, and I appreciate that. Mr. Riley asked if he could say a few words too.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Lindsay, for sharing your story, because my wife and I are also in that 1 in 7 people that have struggled with infertility. And I tell people all the time that for the first year of us trying to have a child, we struggled in silence because of the stigma. And it wasn't until my wife made the most courageous act that I could ever envision, with to tell people about her condition, that suddenly we started receiving phone calls and from friends, family, people reaching out on Facebook, telling us that they were going through it as well. And once we had that, and once we let the world know, we made a conscious decision to never hide it, what we went through. And we are also very lucky that I have my 5-year-old son, Jameson, who's a staple here at City Hall, so people are very familiar with him. But we had to go through IVF to have him. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, because you're exactly what you're doing here is what breaks the stigma and allows people to be out there talking about this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. We certainly appreciate your courage, resilience, and your cause. I mean, it's outstanding. So thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do. Other comments from council? Seeing none. Thank you for being here and appreciate
Thank you,
your
Lindsay.
patience, too.
Thank you. Okay, got a couple more, Mr. Feldman.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
If I could have Ms. Narstad come up. She's been wanting to come up here and be presented with the Arbor Day. On this Saturday, so please stop by at Adele Durbin Park from 10 to noon, right, Linda? Yeah. So she is accepting this on behalf of the Urban Forestry Department, and they are very much touched by this, and they really appreciate it. We had an excellent program about a week ago, right, Linda, with the students at Woodland. Check out the new Burr oak tree over at Oregon Trails. The kids can watch it grow. They were able to help plant. They were able to go ahead and help do all that, and all the students got to participate and also went home with the seedlings. So it was a great event. So, Linda, as the trees begin to bloom and flower, we will celebrate Arbor Day on Saturday, April 26, 2025 at our Earth Fest. Celebrate the Earth event, and in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees, and Arbor Day was first observed with a planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees and urban forests are a vital component of our community's infrastructures, trees reduce topsoil erosion caused by wind and water, cutting heat and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees and urban forests also extend the life of our community streets and reduce storm water runoff. And whereas trees and urban forests help to reduce water pollution and the need to treat an integral part of our community's healthy water supply, and also may improve the concentration of school-age children and allowing them to perform at a higher level in school and make life their better choices. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, make our neighborhoods more inviting and attractive, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. I'm almost done. So now, therefore, I, John Probonic, Mayor of the City of Stow, hereby proclaim that this Saturday, April 26, 2025, is Arbor Day in Stow, and we invite all residents to participate in the Earth Fest activities at Adele Durbin Park. I urge all of our residents to plant trees and support efforts to protect and mature and nurture our trees and urban forests. So if you could present that to them, Linda, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mrs. Narstedt.
Oh. This one is for National Youth Violence Prevention. This was asked for by a resident here in our community. Whereas the week of April 28th through May 2nd, 2025 is National Youth Violence Prevention Week, raising awareness and educating students, teachers, school administrators, counselors, school resource officers, school staff, parents, and the public on effective ways to prevent or reduce youth violence. And whereas the safety and well-being of many students, teachers, and school staff are unnecessarily jeopardized each day by violence. And far too frequently, we hear about instances of isolation, bullying, self-harm, and violence at our schools and our communities. And whereas the Sandy Hook Promise Know the Signs program teaches children and teens how to recognize signs of potential violence in their schools before it happens and provides tools for intervention. And whereas young people who are isolated can fall victim to bullying, violence, and or depression, causing them to pull away from society, struggle with learning and developing, and possibly choose to hurt themselves or others. And whereas the goal of Know the Signs is to foster long-term connectedness and great inclusion and to create a culture and community of upstanders. And whereas the youth of our country are working to enhance the learning environments by reducing social isolation, speaking up when they see youth at risk of harming themselves and of others. And whereas schools, school districts, and communities from across the country are uniting to protect our most vital and important resource, our youth. And so now, therefore, I, John Probonic, Mayor of the City of Stow, Ohio, do hereby proclaim April 28th through May 2nd, 2025, National Youth Violence Prevention Week. I commend Sandy Hook Promise and Know Its Signs program for the work it does to make our community safer and encourage schools and communities to unite in action to prevent youth violence. Thank you. Just also too, on another note, as a reminder, like I said, Arbor Day is coming up, but this weekend is a busy weekend for our students at Stow High School, Stow Munro Falls High School. We have SpongeBob SquarePants. If you haven't seen it, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so please check it out. Again, I guarantee you, I'm always amazed at the youth and the talent and the energy that are in our students. So I would invite you to please come out and support these students as we do all the time. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Comments? Yes, Mrs. Coffey.
Just comment, it is also the Fish Creek Raccoon Run this weekend.
That is correct. That is this Sunday.
Yeah.
Start kicking off at 7:30. All right, is your family running this year?
JP and Jeremy are running. I'm cheering.
Okay, you're cheering. Okay, so Linda has pom-poms if you need them. So that's this Sunday, 7:30. I can't remember. I haven't seen the proclamation yet. I think 13th or 14th year, I think. It's been a long ongoing. How many? 14th year. I knew we were in that ballpark. So again, are you running, Mr. Herman? Okay, that's why you knew it was the 14th. So anyways, again, even if you're not a runner, please go out and cheer our runners on for a great cause in our schools. And that money goes to a lot of great projects at Woodland or at Fish Creek. And again, it's another great program that we do here in the city of Stow. And I'd like to thank the police department for all your hard work, helping control the crowds, keeping people safe, and also to our Park and Rec department that works very closely with these type of programs. So check it out if you want to, 7:30. If you wonder why traffic is backed up, it isn't from Route 91. That is running very good this week. But please check them out 7:30 this Sunday, and I appreciate it, Ms. Coffey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, let's move along. Item 5, we have before us the minutes from the April 10th, 2025 regular city council meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next item is, comes the time of the meeting, we're asked for comments from the audience. If you have any, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Mayor Probonic.
I think I covered it all, Mr. Feldman, so we're ready to roll on. Thank you.
All right, any questions for the mayor? Mr. Mayor, I just had one and he got explained it to me. Mr. Wren, I know he's not here. Just around the city, as we have some awareness when we're driving around, we've got an awful lot of guardrails down that have been hit. One on Fish Creek, one on Seasons, one,
Yeah, some of them are county, okay?
Okay.
There is, just like everything else we're experiencing, the other ones you see maybe out on Route 8 somewhere and so forth, they are ordered. So everything's in the process. We're aware of it. They're ordered. When police police reports are written and so forth, right away our service department goes ahead and recognizes those needs. So that they're all being recognized, whether it's the county or ourselves, that we're actually doing this. So we're on it, and like
Yep.
I said, so it'll be
Sounds
done in a
good.
timely fashion.
Yeah,
So.
he said to me it was a street construction fund. He never can predict how many will be down, but just
But-
seems to be a lot of them.
Yeah, it isn't. I never want to place blame on somebody else, but it is not us. We have the orders in, and we're on it right away because again, those safety guardrails are very important, of course, or they wouldn't be there for the safety of our drivers. So.
Yep, just
what's
something
going
I
on.
noticed, and
Thank
I spoke to Mr. Randall a little earlier, and I appreciate your comments. All right, any old business to come before council? Seeing none. New business. I've got one item before we introduce ordinance 2025-112. I just want to congratulate Tasha Kuntz. We appreciate your work as a deputy clerk of council. She has been hired at Kastner, Westman, and Wilkins, and will be working the office there. But thank you for your great work, and I appreciate you. I know Mrs. Mottram and you and I have met a lot, and we appreciate you doing some research and getting us that information when we're looking at legislation and ordinances and everything else. So thank you and good luck to you, and we hope nothing but the best. Next item, new business. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-112 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
Ordinance number 2025-112. An ordinance confirming the mayor's appointment of Cynthia Crone as Recreation Assistant of the Parks Department of the City of Stow, establishing compensation for said appointee and declaring an emergency.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The rules are suspended.
I move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Rio?
Yes.
Fioka?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes. That ordinance passes and will take effect according to its terms. I'd like to make a motion to table ordinance 25-070.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
No.
That is a 4-2, which
It is tabled.
it is tabled, right?
Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Yes. You go ahead and call the roll.
Herman?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
McIntyre?
No.
Rio?
Yes.
Fioka?
No.
Feldman?
Yes. That motion is tabled. Next item. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-107 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-107, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to make and enter into a contract with Sprungle Co. LLC, DBA Secret Creative Org for professional services for the branding and promotional support of the Stow Amphitheater project without the necessity of public bids and declaring an emergency.
I move to suspend the rules.
Second. Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The rules are suspended.
I move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt. All those, any discussion?
Mr. Feldman.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
McIntyre.
I'm not going to be supporting this this evening, and I'm not saying that I'm a no altogether. I'm a no for now. I think this legislation is coming forward prematurely. I spoke with the law director last week, spoke with the property owner this week. As it stands right now, there's no done deal. There's no, the current developer or owner of the property hasn't closed. There's no closing date after speaking with them today with Giltz and Associates. I know speaking with the law director last week, there's a lot, it's complex paperwork these agreements and things of that nature. So as of right now, that parcel is not even split. I mean, we passed legislation, but it's not even ours to do anything with. So I think until that process gets done, I think we need to just push this off and wait, because I'm sure there's other members of council here that could see $59,000 or whatever it is go into their award. But for right now, I'm a no to that. Thank you.
Other comments? Mr. Herman?
Thanks. I'm a little confused by the process of this at this point about it. We have a motion to adopt that is now being followed by an intention to reject, and I would like to hear the law director's perspective, not only on the process of how this could come back as a like not for now, even if it does get rejected at this time, but also more broadly, if the law director would respond about the context of whether or not he would advise this moving forward. Thank you.
Well, it would have to be substantially different if this fails tonight per council rules to bring it back up. That's once something fails at council, it can't be brought up again at council unless one of the people who voted to fail it are the motion to reconsider. And I believe under Robert's Rule of Order, it has to be brought up at the next meeting. That's correct. Yeah. I think is that all that I was asked?
Well, I'd also like to hear any substantive response to the rationale for delaying, about.
We are still working through the legal mechanism of the project. I don't want to give away any of the negotiations that we're having on that, but council's already authorized the purchase of the property as well as the hiring of a architect and the hiring of a construction manager. So we have entered into contracts with the architect and with the construction manager at this point. Hope that answers your question. Again, we're still working through the legal mechanisms, but it's something we're working through, not that's held up, if that's the question.
Yeah, so like ballpark figure, like I guess when is this shovel ready? I'm not asking for an exact date. Like,
yeah, I know that the property was lot split. The approval of the lot split occurred today. I had a conversation with the current property owner, Soklovs. We have a meeting with the Soklov, and I think I've been clear about this before, that there is a REA, reciprocal easement agreement on the property that has some prohibitions on use of the property. We are working through that with all the entities. I can't speak exactly how long, but I think that we can resolve those issues within the next week or two. It's moving fairly quickly. It's been a process dealing with various corporate entities, but I feel pretty good about where we're at legally in the process. It's moving relatively quick compared to other commercial developments I've dealt with, especially when I was at the land bank. This has moved a lot quicker than a lot of the developers I've dealt with.
So we'll be ready for fall concert season.
Not this fall. What I tell people and what we've talked to about with various community groups is hopefully end of next summer is when it will not just be shovel ready but completed.
Okay, so end of next summer then.
Correct. Yeah.
Mr. Feldman?
Yes, sir.
In terms of substantially different when it comes back before council, I could easily say that it would, because right now the only thing this legislation guarantees this city is a micro website. Everything else is as the city would request something from this. So, I mean, it could come back even more specific the next time it comes back and be substantially different. So.
Other comments? Mrs. Cobb?
Could it be tabled after the rules are suspended?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to table this.
Well, there's already a motion to
We have a
adopt,
motion
and
to
we're
adopt.
debating that.
Yeah, but we haven't had that's typically how discussion is initiated. There's a motion to adopt discussion.
Right.
And then there's typically amendments, maybe. And then, yeah, things have been moved back to the table. Have we done it before?
So we can.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Mr. Riley.
No, Mr. Reel's correct. That parliamentary procedure, how you guys have traditionally handled in this past, is that you could entertain a motion to table or amend even after a motion to adopt has been made and seconded.
So I heard Mrs. Coffey. You want to repeat for me?
Yes,
Just
motion
for the
to
record.
Motion to table 2025-107.
I think the rules also state that if something remains in committee for greater than 60 days, it automatically dies in committee. And that's pursuant to the council rules. Take a look at that.
It's not in committee anymore, it's on the floor.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, it's on the floor.
We're in committee the whole.
Yeah, so I will second that.
A motion and a second to table ordinance 2025-107. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
McIntyre, Reel,
Yes.
Fioka,
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes. We will table ordinance 2025-107. Appreciate the discussion and cooperation. Next item, I'd like to introduce resolution 2025-103 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-103, a resolution defending the city of Stow's powers of local self-government from attempts to subvert the Constitution Home Rule Authority of Ohio's chartered cities.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
No. The rules are not suspended. That will constitute its first reading.
Yeah, that is correct.
Next, I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-104 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-104, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend section 3.06 to clarify the procedure of an acting mayor and declare an emergency.
I'll move to table this piece of legislation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table.
This is subject to prioritization of the legislation that we're waiting for from Charter Review Commission, so that we can understand the priorities and make sure that they get moved on to the DOE correctly.
That's what we discussed.
Yep. We have a motion. Any other discussion on the tabling?
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mario seconded. Yep. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Ordinance 25-104 is tabled. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-105 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-105, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend section 4.12 to reduce the number of public locations of posting of public notices and including additional electronic medium postings requirements and declare an emergency.
I'll move to table 25-105.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table 2025-105. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That ordinance is tabled. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-106 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-106, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 20 of the charter, creating a date by which the Charter Review Commission shall be impaneled and moving the date by which the commission shall submit their recommendation to the council and declare an emergency.
I'll move to table 2025-106.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table 2025-106 to table ordinance 2025-106. Um, All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That ordinance is tabled. I'd like to introduce Resolution 2025-108 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-108, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area CRA tax incentive agreement with 600 Seasons Road Business Center for LLC for the construction of a 250,211 square foot industrial building in the Seasons Business Center East at the west side of State Route 8, south of Seasons Road, and for the Associated School District Compensation Agreement.
I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The rules are suspended.
I move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Reel,
Yes.
Bioka,
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes. That resolution passes and will take effect according to its terms. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-109 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-109, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 6 of the charter, creating a provision for an acting finance director and declaring an emergency.
I move to table 2025-109.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table ordinance 2025-109. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That ordinance is tabled. I'd like to introduce ordinance 2025-110 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-110, an ordinance providing for a separate amendment to the charter of the city of Stow, Ohio, to be submitted to the electorate at the general election on November 4th, 2025, to amend Article 9 of the charter, creating a provision for an acting law director and declaring an emergency.
I move to table 2025-110.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table ordinance 2025-110. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That ordinance is tabled. I'd like to introduce resolution 2025-111 and ask the clerk to please read it by its title.
2025-111, and resolution creating a site plan approval to Philip Meter applicant on behalf of CVA Family Limited Partnership owner to grant a conditional zoning certificate on the property located at 4185 Kent Road, parcel number 56-13972, and granting certain variants.
I move to suspend the rules.
Second. Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
The rules are still suspended.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
this is the second meeting in a row where a corporation has asked this body to approve something and didn't bother to show up and answer our questions or answer the public's questions. Hence my no on the suspension of the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Reel. Other comments? Yep, I can't ask our planning and zoning director either. He's not here. So. All right, any more discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Herman,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Reel,
Yes.
Bioka,
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes. That resolution passes. However, Mr. Councilman Reel's comments are noted. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Bills can be paid. Committees. We've got kind of our new process. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
I do think, I wanted to bring up to council, we got the annual report on the municipal court. If it's okay with all of you, I'm gonna ask somebody to give us a report back, kind of review that for us on 5-8. Does that sound like a good plan? All right, we will have that on the agenda. Mrs. Mottram, you'll take care of that for me. Committee of the whole, and then we'll go from there. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We are adjourned.